In Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter Parker's tripping over his own feet to become the next Avenger.
Oh, I'm good.
In Spider-Man Far From Home, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Now that there's this vacuum and everybody's looking to somebody to be the next Iron Man, Peter Parker feels that weight. Let's analyze Far From Home. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my theological analysis for Spider-Man Far From Home. There's gonna be a ton of spoilers ahead, but the movie's been out for a few weeks, so if you don't care about spoilers, awesome, we're gonna dive in. If you've seen the movie, even better still, we're gonna dive in. If you still haven't seen it and you don't want spoilers, put this in your watch later list and come back, because I'd love to dive into this conversation with you about Peter Parker in Far From Home.
There's gotta be someone else you can use. What about Thor?
Off-world.
Captain Marvel? Unavailable. But I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this. Are the Avengers even still a thing? They're asking that question in this movie. So who's going to protect us from the next alien threat? And here's Peter Parker in the Iron Spider suit, Tony Stark tech. People are wondering, is he the next Iron Man?
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your job.
But you see, Peter Parker is just holding this great big illusion over his own mind that he's not enough, that he is not able, that he's not good enough or strong enough to fulfill that destiny and be the next Tony Stark. See, the real illusion that everybody was believing was that it had to be another Tony Stark. There had to be another Iron Man. But what about the one and only neighborhood Spider-Man? And so Peter is getting caught up in this illusion that he has to be the next Tony Stark. And so he's kind of got Tony Stark in this exalted position in his mind, and therefore he's under the illusion he's not enough and that he could never ever live up to that. And what that's doing is becoming this blockade. Because honestly, Peter Parker is it. I mean, you got Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, calling him throughout this entire beginning of the film to call in his help and bring him in because he is the next available superhero and he's good.
You sent Nick Fury to voicemail?
I gotta go.
You do not ghost Nick Fury.
But he's ghosting Nick Fury because of that fear that he's not enough. That image in his head, that illusion in his head that he absolutely can't live up to. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Does that not sound like Beck in this movie? Does that not sound like Mysterio himself? His whole goal is to go to those with itching ears and give them exactly what they want to hear. He's shown up as this tremendous superhero Mysterio. He's created through these drones and these projections, these fantastic illusions to fool the world. He makes up this story about the multiverse. Why? Because the world has been through alien invasions. The world is turned upside down with things like Thor, who was once myth. He's now studied in a high school physics class. Okay? At this point, what on this green earth is even impossible anymore? Is everything we ever heard of as a myth true? All right, so this dude says he's an interdimensional hero. Why not? He flies around and shoots green smoke out of his hands. Of course he's got to be some kind of interdimensional hero. Sure. The world is gullible now. It's ready to eat up anything. Why? Because they're already fooled. The world already wants to hear, we got the next Iron Man. That's what they're looking for, the next Iron Man, the next Avengers, that next idol that is going to make them feel safe. So what does Quentin Beck do, who is totally unstable and Tony Stark fired him because he was unstable? And now he's full of jealousies and anger and bitterness. And so in a bitter rage, he wants to fill Tony Stark's shoes and be the next Iron Man and take that place so that the whole world will acknowledge him as the smartest guy in the room. And he comes with these signs and these wonders, his ability to defeat these elementals, and a heroic backstory of losing his family in order to win the world's hearts. They have itching ears. They are willing to hear anything, and he's willing to spin whatever yarn they want to hear. Even Peter Parker is ready for it because he doesn't feel like he's enough. He's not enough to step in and become that next Iron Man. He is showing Peter Parker that he's going to live up to that. He's faking humility. He's trying to show through these illusions that he's casted that he's willing to fight to save the world, that he will fill that position so Peter can just relax. But he wants Peter to relax because Tony Stark gave Peter Parker Edith. Even dead, I'm the hero. I love you, Tony Stark. But you're an idiot for giving a 16-year-old kid access to a computer that can call a drone strike. Are you?
Is it so? It is. It's so terrible.
So this is what he does. He messes with that illusion that Peter's already pulled over his eyes. I will bravely assume that burden of living up to Tony Stark. But now once that illusion passes and Peter finds out the truth that there's illusion tech going on here, that there's no real elementals and Beck is a bad guy, and oh crap, he just handed over Edith over to the bad guy. Now that Beck has been found out, he's got to hit the next thing. You are not good enough. And so when he pulls that huge illusion over Peter Parker, he hits him with that condemnation, with that zombie, creepy, spider-infested Tony Stark body coming out of the grave saying, if you were good enough, he would still be here. Hitting him with discouragement, hitting him with condemnation, and then literally hitting him with that train. You know, blinding his eyes with the illusion so he stepped out in front of a train, which, I mean, I know he's Spider-Man, but my gosh, how do you... It's a train, for crying in the... He's not more powerful than a locomotive, right? I'm thinking of somebody else, right? Peter is clearly visibly shaken. One, yeah, just hit by a train. But two, he's shaken with this weight of guilt and condemnation that he's carrying because of these massive, massive mistakes that he's made. He just handed this huge weapon to Beck. Half of Europe could die because of that, and his friends could die because of that, and it would all be on him because he did not think it through, and he just took those glasses and gave them over to Beck. Man, he made some big mistakes, and it is weighing him down. The condemnation of it is weighing him down, and you can bet those words that Beck said to him, which is exactly what our enemy wants to do to devour us and to destroy us, are repeating over and over again in his heart, if you were good enough. But it's at this point that Peter has to destroy this idol that he's built up. Because Thor already learned this lesson, didn't he? You fail at who you're supposed to be. So be who you are. He's not supposed to be the next Iron Man. Tony didn't want him to be the next Iron Man. Tony wanted him to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
Because he wasn't created to be Iron Man. He was created to be Spider-Man. He had to quit trying to find satisfaction and conform himself to what he's not and be exactly what he was created to be. And when he stepped into that calling, that's when he found, I can do this. But when it came to facing this enemy, how did he win? Walk by faith and not by sight.
You're all alone. Your friends are in trouble. What are you going to do about it?
I thought that whole verse, walk by faith and not by sight, was beautifully illustrated when they continued to bring up the jokes about the Peter tingle. You know, his whole Spidey sense thing. I like what they did with that in this movie because it's like, throughout the MCU, I've been wondering what has happened with his Spidey senses. And here we see it's something he has to grow in and mature in and kind of learn how to listen to it. Kind of like we got to grow and mature in our relationship with God, and we got to learn how to listen to him, to hear him. And so this picture of Peter in this hallway, and then Mysterio does this huge illusion yet again. And what does Peter do? He closes his eyes and listens to that sixth sense. He listens to his Spidey senses, and he's able to actually win the fight. Because in walking by faith and not by sight, he was actually walking in the truth and not the illusion that was being casted all around him. See, he stopped fooling himself. Peter was put in that right place at the right time for such a time as this. And he almost missed it because he thought he had to be the next Iron Man. He dropped the idol of Iron Man and realized, I'm not going to try to be Iron Man. I'm not going to try to do that. I'm going to be exactly who I was created to be. And now he's listening to that Spidey sense. It was that walk of faith that had him living in freedom. It was that casting down of that idol that made him somebody that couldn't be fooled by the lies of Beck. In life, we make these idols out of money. We make these idols out of success. We make these idols out of these different things, and we chase those things, and then we're constantly discouraged by the frustration that seems to be never ending because we're trying to live up to stuff we were never ever created to be. We're trying to live up to images that are impossible to live up to. And yet, there's God saying, drop those idols and drop chasing after those things and just come and rest. Be still and know that I am God. He created us in his image, in his likeness. When we do what Peter did and he learned to listen to his sixth sense, we stop and we learn to listen to that still small voice, that Holy Spirit that he's given us on the inside. When we choose to be still and lean in and listen and walk by faith and not by sight, that's where we find that freedom. And the truth shall set you free.
You got gifts, Parker, but you have a job to do. Are you going to step up or not?
Now, I'm super excited for the next Spider-Man movie, seeing as how J. Jonah Jameson just kind of played the video of Mysterio's last lie and broadcasted Peter's secret identity all over the place. What are they going to do with that? I'm looking forward to seeing where things go from here. Are you excited for the next Spider-Man movie? Let's talk about that in the comments. While you're there, hit that subscribe button to become a Durbanian and hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next theological analysis, movie review, ranking video, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.